original, the original idea that we light outside the house, at the doorway, to publicize the miracle for the thoroughfare. The other option of lighting in a window, which enables you to light indoors, which was mentioned originally only for a second floor, is still a valid option. And it's not only b'diavad. The b'diavad in the Braita that we saw, b'diavad was on your own table, where nobody from the outside sees it. That is only in a case of danger. But if you choose, or if you don't have the possibility to buy a glass box, by all means, putting it in the window is just as good, almost just as good as putting it by the doorway. So that's what we saw. The only question is, which we have to deal with now, is page 268, the top of page 268. The assumption up till now, this whole discussion was based on the fact that the doorway is going to be to the thoroughfare. That's why it's the ideal place. But what if you have a house within a yard? And your yard could be, 20 meters, could be 50 meters. So the door to your house, nobody sees that. You're far away from the street. You have a front yard, some people have a backyard. Also the window. Some is people are going to see it from the window. But what if you live far away from you have a courtyard? So take a look at the top of page 268. So see how to apply that. And then we're going to talk about height as well. Okay, so Idan, will you read for us in the past?
In the past, many homes had walled courtyards, and people would exit to the street through a gate in the wall. In such a case, the courtyard was considered an extension of the home, and the correct place to light was in the entranceway of the courtyard. In contrast, today's front yards are not walled, and therefore the correct place to light is at the entrance to the home itself.
Interesting that he puts the emphasis on the issue of the walls or not. I think really what the walls signify is that in the ancient times, the courtyards were part of the house. Because the houses were so small that pretty much whatever could be done outside the house was done. They used the courtyard for cooking, for preparing, for laundry, for hanging out, for eating. It was very much an outdoors issue because the houses were just so small. And so the courtyard was a part of the house. So where's the door to the house? The door to the courtyard. That was the door to your house. And it makes sense that was signified by the walls because you want the privacy in the courtyard as well. But nowadays our courtyards, it's a machloket, of course. He made in the footnote, he brings the different, opinions. The most famous is the Chazon Ish. He brings in section C, in footnote 2, section C, he says, he maintains, today's yards do not function as extensions of the home. And so if you light Hanukkah candles at the courtyard, you've not fulfilled your obligation. Because it's not, you're like lighting outside in the field. You can't light a Hanukkah candle far away from your house. It has to be in your house. So that's an important distinction that although courtyards used to be, and they appear in the Talmud as a place to light, the door to the courtyard is the door to your house. Nowadays it's hard to apply that. On the other hand, let's continue reading. On the other hand, in some homes,
the entranceway is not clearly visible to many people on the street, while lighting in the window would be more clearly visible from the street. Some maintain that in such a case, it is still preferable to light in the entranceway, as doing so follows the sage's original enactment, so that one who entered the home will be surrounded by mitzvot. Others maintain that lighting in a window is preferable in this case, since the primary reason for the enactment is to publicize the miracle, and more people will see the candles if they are lit in the window. In practice, it seems that the mitzvah is rendered more beautiful when one lights in the window. However, there is also an advantage to lighting in the entranceway.
So we see that you could play it either way. It's very hard. On the one hand, you want to publicize the miracle, so You look at that, what's better, the window or the entranceway? On the other hand, the entranceway, that's the original mitzvah, to have it in the doorway. So you get to choose, essentially, is the bottom line here. And personal preference, your own calculations, many times I've done it this way 1 year and another way a different year. They're both kosher. And it really depends on, the traffic near your house, how close your doorway is to the thoroughfare, how close your window is to the thoroughfare. I like to do the doorway. It's the original mitzvah. It's something beautiful about it. Being in the doorway with the mezuzah, and it's the entrance to the home. But, it's to some extent a personal preference. Yes?
So do people like both in the entrance and the doorway to compensate in profit?
So some people do that. Some people do, like if there's two people lighting in the house, the Ashkenazi custom is that, each individual lights his own. So then, sometimes you would split it up and then you get the best of both worlds. At least you're publicizing the miracle in both ways. Yeah, there's also, it's better not to have a few Chanukiot bunched up together, then you can't tell how many candles there are. And so unless you could separate them very clearly, then that's it doesn't matter. But there's definitely a good idea. We'll see. There's a source for that in the Talmud too. The Talmud says if there's a house that has two entrances and two directions, if you light in one direction, people in the other direction are going to think you're not doing the mitzvah. If you light in that direction, people think you're not doing the mitzvah. So there's a svara that you should do it in both. But you only make one bracha, of course. You only make one bracha, unless there's few people. According to the Ashkenazi custom, few people make the bracha. Every individual makes this bracha. We're going to see this machloket about the courtyard versus the entranceway to the house comes to play in apartment buildings. Right? When you have an apartment building, you have stairs going up, and then you have the door to the individual apartment. So some people say, well, the stairwell is like a courtyard. Do people use the stairwell? Some places they do. They put some shoes outside the house. Sometimes they put baby carriages outside the house. In some apartment buildings, you'll see coat racks and storage containers in the stairwell. Maybe some other places that's not acceptable and you could get yelled at by the neighbors. They want to keep the stairwell very nice and clear of any hazards for people walking in and out. So there's different standards, and so that can make a difference. Even according to the Chazon Ish, she said we don't use our courtyards anymore to live. Well, maybe the stairwell we do in some places, and therefore, where would be the proper place to light the Hanukkah candles? At the entrance to what? At the entrance to the building. Right, that's like the courtyard, which faces the public thoroughfare. Like in the Talmudic times, if you're using the courtyard as an extension of the house, so really the entrance to your house is the entrance to the building. But there's a lot of people. There's like 10 people in that building. So how does that connect it to you? Well, it doesn't matter. Maybe you could have 10 Chanukiot there, as long as everybody's in a different place. That is the custom. In many places, many poskim say you should light not at the entrance to your door. Because what's the other option? You're going to put it in the doorway, in the stairwell, on the third floor. Who's going to see it? But there's no windows out to the thoroughfare usually from a stairwell. No, the answer to that is who's going to see it? Well, you're going to see it, and your neighbor's going to see it. Maybe if you're on the top floor, there's no justification. But everybody else on the lower floor, the people that live above them are going to see it as they go up and down the stairs. So you are lighting in a public place, so people will see it, and that's the entrance to your home. Say those apartment buildings where you don't use the stairwell except for going up and down the stairs. So there's another opinion. And when you light downstairs at the entrance to the apartment, that doesn't show like it's your Chanukiah. Going back to the discussion about if you have two ptachim, people should be able to see that it's your Chanukiah and you're publicizing the miracle. Well, if it's at the entrance to the apartment building, well, I don't know, maybe it's the Cohens, maybe it's the Schwartzes, maybe, I don't know whose Chanukiah it is. It's not necessarily connected to you. It's not your house. It's a public area. And so what do we do? There's a machloket, as I was saying. And then, of course, maybe in such a situation where you have the doorway to the building is one option, but you don't really use the stairwell as a house, as an extension of your house. The doorway to your apartment is very nice and personal, but not too many people are going to see it. By the way, other people consider another thing, that doorway to your house and the stairwell, doorway to your apartment and the stairwell, maybe it's dangerous because there's little kids going up and down the stairs. They could bang into your Chanukiah. It's a hazard. You want to keep the area clear so that people can get by. Maybe they have an agala, maybe they have a carriage of some sort. So that's another, so not in the entrance to the building, not in the entrance to your doorway. Maybe going to the window in the apartment building is the best option you have. It's clearly your window, it's your apartment, and you can see it from the outside. Wait a second. Can you see it from the outside? Your window, the windowsill, okay, it's a little bit above, 10 tfachim. It's more than a meter. But still, you don't have to, we said that's only lechatchila. The best option is. But if it's in a window, if you light it lower down, nobody's going to see it. Obviously, it's kosher up. Where should the height of the Chanukiah be? He said ideally between 3 and 10, between 3 and 10 tfachim. And then we said it's still kosher if it's above 10 tfachim up until 20 amot, 10 meters. Okay, great. So I'll put it in my windowsill. It's not too high. It's still kosher. It's above 10 tfachim, but it's still... And people from the outside will see it. Well, the first floor, maybe yes. What on the second floor? What about the third floor? What on the fourth floor? For me, it's eye level. But for people from the ground, it's above 20 amot. It might not be kosher in the window either. So you're imagine you live on the fourth floor. You can't. It's not great to do it in the entrance of the building. It's not great to do it in the entrance to your apartment, and it's not great to do it in the window. We're going to go back to the times of danger of the Tosfot and put it on the kitchen table. There's one other option, and that is if you're going to put it on the kitchen table so everybody can see it. Maybe instead of putting it on the kitchen table, put it at your doorway, on the inside of the doorway. So you'll still have this nice idea of the mezuzah on the right, Chanukiah on the left, but it won't be on the outside of the door, but it'll be on the inside of the door. It's still for the family members, but at least it's not on your living room table, which has no meaning. It's at the doorway to your apartment, but it's on the inside. If you're forced to do it on the inside, you have that option of doing it on the table or on the door, whichever you prefer. That's another option. So we have 5 different options about where to put your Chanukiah. Now, I made a little bit of short shrift about the option of the window and the high floor. Some poskim say, well, it depends. Usually when you have one apartment, you have another apartment building. You have one building, you have another apartment building. So on the 4th floor, who's going to see your candles? Maybe the other people in the other apartment building on the 4th floor. For them, your eye level. It's not 20 amot high for everybody. That's too high. If nobody, also, some people say, well, 20 amot high, that was when everybody lived in single-story homes. And the cities looked pretty much flat, pretty low level. Everything was low. Now you walk around Manhattan. Every building is a skyscraper. The advertisements are up there, right, to the height of the building. That's because we've changed. The eye is drawn up higher than 20 amot nowadays because the buildings are higher than 20 amot. In those days, probably there was no buildings higher than 20 amot. They didn't have the reinforcements. They didn't have any building taller than 1 or 2 floors would crash, would crumble under itself. Didn't have the ability to. Now we can build a 60-story height building, and so we do. We're used to those kind of buildings, so we're used to looking up. Also, so maybe it's kosher even on the 4th floor. Because our eye is from the street level is drawn high, and second of all, there's people in the other building. that for them it is eye level. We only count 20 amot from when there's no other people. But if there are other people in other buildings on the 4th floor, you can light on the 24th floor. People in the next building over will see you on the 24th floor. From the 24th floor, they'll see you. So, complicated. Let's read it inside. Let's see how Rav Melamed puts it together, and we'll see the bottom line afterwards. Go ahead. Number 3, done.
Nowadays, many people live in apartment buildings. The best place for them to light is in a window facing the street or on a porch facing the street, as this is the most effective way of publicizing the marriage. Those who light in the window must make sure that both household members and passerby can see the candles. Therefore, one should not use a menorah that has a back that blocks the view of the candles from either side. Even when the window facing the street is higher than 10 tefachim, one should still light there because it is more important to publicize the miracle to passerby than to be meticulous about lighting the candle lower than 10 tefachim. Some maintain that it is better to light in the hallway right outside the apartment door, so that one who enters the home will be surrounded by mitzvot, the mezuzah on the right and the Hanukkah candles on the left. Although one who chooses to light this way certainly fulfills his obligation, it is nevertheless better to light in the window facing the street to publicize the miracle. Even if the apartment is on an upper floor and the window is higher than 20 amot, as long as passerby can see the candles through the window, it would seem that it is preferable to light there in order to publicize the miracle. However, if one wishes, he may light in the hallway right outside the apartment door, as this publicizes the miracle somewhat as well. Even if he lights the candle inside his home, he has fulfilled his obligations.
Okay, so bottom line is there are many, many options. None are ideal. But you have the principle. The principle is to publicize the miracle. The principle is to light in your home to publicize the miracle. Somewhere on the entrance to your home, or somewhere in an exposed element of your home, whether it's a doorway or a window, or if you have no other option, you can still light the candles inside, based on the halacha, which mentions it in the original words of the sages. In a time of danger, it's still kosher, even if it's on your own kitchen table, and only you can see it. Okay, the seder, so we know where to light. You have clarity where you're going to light? I don't. I still debate which is better. My doorway. There's always questions. My doorway, I can light by my doorway, but I have a little bit of an entrance. Like there's a wall, a retaining, like a wall of the entrance. We're going up the steps, which blocks the view from the street, except for a certain angle. Maybe you could see it. And so what I do is sometimes I want to lift it up higher than 10 tefachim, so that people can see it. Even though it's at my door, people will be able to see it. That's probably better. But then if I do it on the window, then maybe more people will see it. So there's always, I think I've lit on every option. I've lived in many different apartments, different homes, and each time was a different decision. There was, in my previous home, we lived underground. It was the entrance from the street. We had like a courtyard, which was really just an entranceway. We didn't do much in that courtyard. But that was right on the street. And underneath, where we lived, sort of in the basement, the exposed area was towards the desert. Nobody walked there. Almost nobody. It was right on the perimeter. There was a security road. So there was a patrol, came every hour or so. So I had to choose. Do I want to light so that the patrol car can see my Chanukiah? And then it'll be at the entrance to my home or in a window near. Or do I light at the entrance to the courtyard, that's where everybody passes by? That's the road. So I did next to the courtyard. That's when I had these big lanterns. I had a candle in each lantern. I didn't really have a Chanukiah. I just had a series of lanterns. And I thought that was publicizing the miracle better. And I think you're Yotzei the mitzvah, based on, there's a machloket, but if the point is to publicize the miracle, and it is your courtyard, and somewhat, and sure, we did play sometimes in the courtyard, so it was only our courtyard. So, except for the Chazon Ish, I think we were covered in lighting there. That Chazon Ish was pretty clear, but you can choose. Sometimes sometimes I lit in the entrance to the apartment building, if I was in an apartment building. Sometimes I lit at the door to my apartment. And sometimes I lit within my apartment in a windowsill, one which was facing the most people. Even if it happened to be the window of my bedroom. It's a little weird, but it was just, we were a small family at the time. Myself, my wife. But we lit the candles in our bedroom because that was the window that was facing most people. They're all kosher. Another year we lit at the doorway in our apartment because maybe we had a few more kids. We had guests. We wanted them to see the candles as well. So we lit in the doorway inside the apartment. All the options are kosher, and it's very interesting. Rav Melamed, of course, has his opinions, which is best in each of these debates. I think the most standard is the windowsill. The windowsill facing public areas. There's no number of people that see it. You don't have to try to, maximum. As long as it's someone who can see the lights, you fulfill your obligation. As I said, even if you light it inside, just for yourself, you can feel the obligation. Now, this brings us to the next discussion about when to light, because if you're trying to maximize the amount of people that are going to see the lights, you want to publicize the miracle. The original halacha was designed for a specific window of time. We're going to see it in just a minute. And what happens if you're later? What if you get home late? It's the middle of the night. Nobody's going to see it. We go back to this idea. So you're lighting the candles essentially for yourself. It's like on your kitchen table. Only you are going to see it. Is that valid? So in terms of placement, we said that's good enough. That's what the Breita said. In times of danger, you put it inside, and that's good enough. What about timing? Well, if nobody else is going to see it anyways. What does it matter when you light it? Do you have to light it at the beginning of the evening when that was the original idea, that people would see it in the beginning of the evening. But if it's 2 a.m, nobody's going to see it. Okay, but it's on your kitchen table. Nobody's going to see it anyways. So maybe you can get up, you work shifts, you get home at 3 a.m., and nobody's going to see it anyways. Just you light it inside your house and on the kitchen table, and that's good enough. Even if the only person you're publicizing it to is me, myself, and I. That's 3 already, right? Me, myself, and I. 3 people. It's good enough. You can even make a zimun. Okay, so we're going to see the details of the timing, and that's going to actually educate us a little more. We covered this when we talked about Hilchot Shabbat. About when it's sunset and the different calculations around twilight, but it's good to review, and maybe we'll go a little deeper this time, and we'll see the different opinions of Shekiah. Before that, I want to say good morning to Stephen, and to Shmuel, and to Hananel, and to Israel. How are you? All good? You had a nice Shabbat? Hananel, you were here, or you were in the hotel? Okay? Not bad. Hotel means something different in this case. Not like a vacation. It's evacuated from your home, but hopefully we'll... Should we pray? Should we pray for our hostages? Let's get the Sidurim. The war has restarted since we last met. And we also have to pray for the souls of 2 soldiers who gave their lives yesterday. And once we're back to active war, unfortunately the soldiers are giving their lives so that we can be safer here. And we pray for their souls. And I think there were 4 people injured as well, 4 soldiers injured. There was a civilian injured in Cholon. There was rockets onto the Tel Aviv area, and someone got some shrapnel. 22-year-old got some shrapnel. And I don't know if you guys heard, but we had some excitement out where I live.
The rockets?
Friday night, we had our first siren.
Yeah. Yeah, you see it.
I was so shocked. The phone, the app works, and there was a siren. It said Tseva Adom, and we went to our safe room. Luckily, we have a safe room. And then we heard a big boom. And the boom, apparently, they told us that later on, that it fell near Beit Lechem. We live not far from Beit Lechem. And I don't know who they were aiming for. I mean, I blame my guests. Like, they're chasing after you. We had some guests for Shabbat. I mean, my son was home for the first time in 2 months, Baruch Hashem, for Shabbat. And then we had to go to the safe room for 10 minutes, whatever. Once we heard the boom, we know pretty much it was over. And but it was a shock. You know, why they're aiming towards Tekoa, I don't know. Maybe they're aiming for me. I think they're just trying to show some life and aiming anywhere, really. But probably aiming for Jerusalem, and they missed by far, quite a far distance. But so yeah, the war's back on, and it's a crazy business trying to deal with these extortionist terrorists and making a deal with the devil. And I hope our leaders are doing the best job they can. And I mean, I'm sure they are. Just hope it's good enough, and we win this battle of minds as well as the battle on the ground. In the meantime, apparently the deal was that we have a list of names. We know exactly who we made a deal to get back, and apparently there's 15 more women. The first was all the women and children. Apparently there's 2 more children left in Gaza, hostages. The assumption is that they're dead, that they were killed. But there's 15 more women which, as far as we know, are alive, and the Hamas was supposed to provide 10 each day. And then on Friday, instead of giving a list of 10 women, they said, we don't have women. And so they put into the list, I think, 2 bodies and 2 adult men, and this was essentially cheating. And then they shot off rockets at 6:30 in the morning on Friday. And so the leaders of the negotiations said this is a clear breach, and if we back down here, if we just let them get away with this, then there will there'll be no credibility for any future deal. So they said, deal's off. They said, you broke the deal. You started fighting again. And anyways, my leaning was that it's probably better to keep fighting. Although it's such a hard call to make, I'm not in the decision-making capacity, Baruch Hashem. It's really a choice between evil and worse evil. But now we're back. I think it's clear the ceasefire is over, and I think we bombed Gaza 400 missiles, and discovered on the ground war actions. I'm telling you all this because most of you don't have good access to news outlets because of the language. You should find yourself something good, but in any case, we discovered in one house, in the children's room, all sorts of weapons and ammunition, and another room which was filled with boxes of UNRWA, the relief organization of the UN. In the same room, there was like 10 rockets that could reach Ashkelon, and the long-range rockets. And they have no distinction. They have no qualms of using the residential area for their military bases. So it makes our fighting much harder. But it shows us our justification for doing it, because we can't, it's just not fair to the civilians of Gaza, let alone our own civilians, to be suffering rockets and being running to safe rooms. It just makes you so angry. My Friday night. Disrupted, and Includes everybody, everybody has to go to the safe room. Women, children who are sleeping. One of our guests was a soldier on leave, other than my son, and she was up all night, Thursday night, and then she traveled to get home on Friday. She basically hadn't slept for like 36 hours.
Wow.
So finally, she just got to bed, and then she got woken up by the siren on her leave, on her. So yeah, it's a crazy situation. So Bezrat Hashem, Hashem will help us. The Hanukkah spirit is coming, victory over our enemies. It's a time of miracles. So we'll have more miracles. Bezrat Hashem. Okay, everybody got page 231? Ready? Okay, now I want you guys to lead today. Okay, Hananel, you ready to lead? You're a singer. Did you guys know Hananel has a history as being a singer? He's a popular. There's videos of Hananel singing. It's in a different language. Is it in the Cookie? What is it? Hananel Cookie? What language are you singing there in the videos? Yeah. It's in what language? In Cookie. It is. Okay, that's what I thought. That's the local Bnei Menachem language in India. So let's hear it. Achenu. Achenu kol Israel. Achenu kol Israel. Anetuni b'tzara, tzara u'b'shivya. Omni velaya asher. Achenu kol Yisrael. Achenu kol Yisrael. Anetuni b'tzara u'b'shivya. Omni velaya asher. Hamako Yerachem Aleichem v'yotzihem mitzara lirvacha u'mefer leolam u'mishiabo legeula hashtam b'gala u'bizman kavavim. Amakom Yerachem Ha'aleim Yotzim Tzara Lirvata U'mefer le'olam Mishiot le'geula hashtam b'gala u'bizman kavavim. Amen. Turn one page to 233. I taught you the song Se'u Sha'arim Hasheichim in the middle of the page, at the end of line 5, from the paragraph Kuf of Tehillim Kaf Daled. Se'u Sha'arim Hasheichim v'nas'u pitchei olam. ויבוא מלך הכבוד סלע. Hang on, I want to make sure everybody has the place. You have the place, Hananel? Yeah? And you have the place? You have? Si'u. Towards the end of the line, there's 2 dots. It's a sin, not a shin. Okay? Se'u she'arim rashechem v'nas'u pitchei olam telalai ויבוא מלך הכבוד סלע מזה, last line, מלך הכבוד השם צבאות הוא מלך Hashem tzevakot hu melech. Hakavod sevevela. Tai lai la lai la lai la. Tila lai 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 la lai lai la. Tai lai la lai la lai la. Lai lai la 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 la. Okay, now I want to teach you one more song. Same page, next paragraph. Next paragraph, as you can see, is a collected piece of various psukim from different places, and it said as we return the Torah to the ark. And the third line, we're going to start singing, Ki lekach tov. There are three psukim from Mishlei, and then the last one is from Eicha. So from Proverbs, it starts, for I give you good instruction. Do not forsake my Torah. We're talking about the Torah. Lekach tov is the Torah, the good instruction. Good. We call the Torah good. Ki lekach tov natati lechem. I have given you such good instruction. Do not forsake my Torah. Then we talk more about the Torah and we say, Eitz Chaim Hi. She is a tree of life. Who's she? The Torah. The Torah is a tree of life. You know what we call those poles that we roll the Torah scroll around? We hold it up. We call it Atzei Chaim, tree of life. For she is a tree of life. But the key is, Lamachazikim ba. For those who grasp it. You have to hold on to it. V'tomcheha me'ushar. Those who uphold it are happy. Litmoch is to support. Some people say that's why you should give money to support Torah scholars. Tomcheha me'ushar brings you happiness to support it. But of course, you should not forsake the Torah, and you should support it. Hold on to it, grasp it. It is a tree of life to those who grasp it, and those who uphold it are happy. Deracheha darchei noam. This pasuk from Mishlei, chapter 3, its ways are ways of pleasantness, and all its paths are peace. What a beautiful verse. And this verse is not just a beautiful idea, it has a halachic ramification. Deracheha darchei noam. Its ways are ways of pleasantness. Sometimes the Talmud will reject a certain opinion. For example, it says, we're not sure which whether or not this type of plant branch is kosher for the lulav. And the Talmud says, well, this branch is full of thorns. It cannot be that that's what the Torah commands us to carry, because deracheha darchei noam. Its ways are ways of pleasantness. V'chol netivoteha shalom. All its paths are paths of peace. Another place where this comes into our tradition, halachic tradition, is how we treat others should be in a manner which supports peace, which fosters peace. All its paths are peace. We have to make sure that the ways are ways of pleasantness. And is that giving cold air or hot air? No, it's both. Now it just turned to hot. Now I feel the heat. So it's playing games. We have to make sure it's pleasant here, right? Because we're learning Torah. Its ways are ways of pleasantness. Okay, and the last verse is from Eicha, the end of Eicha. The second last verse in Eicha. Hashiveinu Hashem elecha v'nashuva. Turn us back, Hashem, to you, and we will return. We ask Hashem for His help to return to Him. Maybe give us the conditions where we're able to. Maybe give us a beautiful opportunity to study Torah in Machon Meir, in a place which is so pleasant. And then, okay, we'll return to you. We will learn your good ways, your good instruction. So Hashiveinu Hashem elecha v'nashuva, and we pray for Hashem finally renew our days as of old. We need to renew our days. Renew, we talked about it the other day. So there's a Judaism which we're missing. We need a renewal of our Judaism. We don't have prophecy. We don't have a temple. There's plenty to renew. Sometimes even each and every one of us in our lives, doing the same routine over and over every day, it could get a little old. It could get stale. It's a challenge. Religious life, especially the way it's practiced with our observances, there's a challenge to keep it fresh. So we pray to Hashem, Chadesh Yameinu, renew our lives, Kekedem, as they were in the days of old. Maybe the first week when you started to practice Judaism, that was exciting. First time you came to Shir, wow, my mind is blown, such new ideas. Then you get used to it. Say, there's only 3 new ideas this year. You want there to be 4, then you want there to be 5, then you want... I expected fireworks, and all I got was a boring Shir. We get jaded, so we have to struggle to keep renewing ourselves. Chadesh Yameinu Kekedem. Now you may be familiar with this tune. It's quite popular. In many synagogues, they sing it every Shabbat. Before Musaf, when we're returning the Torah, it's pretty much a highlight. The Musaf is the highlight of the service. And it's a beautiful, beautiful tune. It's an Ashkenazi tune. But I have a recording here for you. And we can sing it along together with him. Starting with the words, Ki lekach tov. Everybody have the place? The fourth last line, Ki lekach tov. In the middle of the line, there's 2 dots. And ki, the word ki. You have it, Israel? You have it, Hananel? Ki lekach tov. Okay, Stephen, you got it? Here we go. Oh, I need some volume. Pleasant. This ways our pleasantness. It's nice. Nice intro. No. I sent you the link. It's not Isha Riva. Somebody else. Omer Korman. וכל נתיבותיה שלום אשיבנו אשר ישובה חדש ימינו Okay, from the top now. I think they're going to start again. Everybody got to what the words from? Ki lekachto natati lachem toraki al tazoni etzayni It's a different twist. I didn't do anything.
What did you do?
This might have ran out of power.
It's still
Do you want to plug it in on the? It's still playing. Plug it in the side. In the side there, there's a. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know why it would stop like that.
Maybe the sun is finished.
No.
Still running?
Yeah. Yes.
Can open little bit window.
Sure.
Yeah, because no good. Just close the ventilation.
Okay. Unless people are cold, but you could try it that way.
Maybe open 2 windows for like 5 minutes.
Sure.
Change the air.
Sure. Yeah. Fine. Open the door if you like.
Okay.
Yeah, whatever you like. Yeah.
Change the air for a little bit.
Okay.
Is the
Sometimes you really need the extra air. Now it's working. From the top again, guys. Okay. Especially you need the air sometimes on Sunday morning after Shabbos, after the chulent. If you know what I mean. It's not. Now he has this poetic license. Okay, a little jazzy ending there, okay? Nice. Shkoyach, okay.
What's the title?
The title of it? I sent it to the WhatsApp group. Everybody's here on the WhatsApp group? Yeah? So, you see that they call it Hashivenu for the last word. The first words, I think a lot of people, they don't start for like Kila Kachtov. This Shabbat, for example, our Chazan, he started from Eitz Chaim Hi. Some people know it as Eitz Chaim Hi. But really, it works better because you do the low part twice. So you do with the two psukim, Kila Kachtov and Eitz Chaim Hi. And then the high part is two psukim of Deracheha and Hashivenu. But you can play around with it, as you can see. Anyways, there it is for you. And it's good to learn songs. Soon we're going to start singing Hanukkah songs. But let's finish the halachot first. Let's get
Okay,
moving.
started during the Shabbat, some of the Hanukkah tree.
Already? People are excited. People are excited, getting ready for the holiday. I mean, how come they started selling sufganiyot already 3 weeks ago? Because they're excited or they're trying to make money. But in this case, so far so good, all right? Okay. Yeah, questions, please.
Just now you mentioned
Yeah.
you use a lantern for the menorah.
Yeah.
So if the lantern is not transparent, you see the flame portion, or must able to see the flame.
The point is to see the flame. So no, it was transparent. It's transparent. Yeah, you have to see it, or someone has to see it, right? That's the idea we were talking about. Who? But yeah, you should be able to see it. That's why it's hard to light outside. For hundreds of years, Jews in Europe didn't light outside because they didn't have a glass box. You need a glass box. It's harder to come by. Now glass is much cheaper. You can buy them at the supermarket. They have these aquariums, they call them. Osherad tons, yeah. Haredi supermarket. Just down the block here, 10-minute walk. Yeah.
So you don't need like Hanukkah, you just need like 7 fires.
Exactly, 8.
8.
Right. And the first day you only need 1. Just take a candle and put it out. You don't need any Chanukiah. There's a custom to use a Chanukiah because it shows that it's 1 out of 8 and you make it out of silver. Or it's beautifying the mitzvah. But you don't have to have a Chanukiah. And these lanterns so you could say it's part of like a Chanukiah, but it was each individual lamp was its own candle. The point is to light the candles. The Chanukiah, the original candles, as we always say, was a bowl with a wick in it and oil inside and a wick inside, and so that's not a candelabra. In the menorah in the Beit HaMikdash there was a candelabra, and on top there was a place, a reservoir to fill with oil, and you put the wicks inside that. They put the oil in the wicks, and then this was why in the Beit HaMikdash, you know what the first duty was every morning?
It's the incense and then the candle.
So the incense also had to be cleaned out, the ashes from what was burning all night, and also on the menorah they had to take out the old wick and the old leftover oil, and that was kodesh that had to be disposed of with holiness. Today there's a custom, leftover wicks, you burn them and you can use it for the next day. Our Chanukiot is not at the Beit HaMikdash, but some halahs follow the Beit HaMikdash because we're commemorating the miracle which happened in the Beit HaMikdash. In any case, clearing out every morning, they would clear out the candles from the leftover wicks so that they could prepare it for the next lighting of the menorah. Every day they lit the menorah. How many did they light in the Beit HaMikdash? 7 every day. There was no 1, 2, 3, 4. Every day they lit 7. And the Talmud says that there was a miracle. And apparently the miracle happened in one of the candles of the 7. There's a debate which one it is. What happened to one of the candles of the 7?
Kept going for
It kept lit. Not for 8 days.
10 days.
Not for 7 days.
Just through the night.
Through the night they all lit. All the way through the day. 24 hours. That it continued to light. And this was like a miracle. All the other, there were 7 candles, 6 of them, the oil was finished. The candle goes out. Somehow one of the candles, some people say it was the westernmost candle, the one closest to the Kodesh HaKodashim. Other people say, well, the menorah had 7 branches, and there was a central branch. So the one in the middle is the one that's considered to be the one which is, all the other ones were pointing to the middle one. The middle one's pointing to the Kodesh HaKodashim. That's the one that lasted. But I think the one closest to the Kodesh HaKodashim, it lasted miraculously. So you know what that means? The sages said this is a sign of the Shekhinah, divine presence. It's a miracle.
This is about Beit Sheni?
So this is in Beit Rishon. Now, there were a few of the miracles that happened in the Beit HaMikdash. They say that the smoke from the altar went straight up to the heavens. It didn't get scattered. It's like a pillar of smoke. You see in the pictures. We don't have any pictures here of the Beit HaMikdash. It's a shame. We got to get some up on the wall. There's some books we have. We do have some books. But you know what, Yosef, bring out those brown books at the bottom. Those brown books. That's Rambam, but there's pictures in the back. Open up to the back. This is one section, one out of the 5 books of the the Rambam. How many books does the Rambam have? 14, right? So these are 3 out of the 14 books in this volume. But what we have in the back is some pictures. You see a picture of the menorah as it was drawn by the Rambam himself on page 1228. Page 1228, you see a diagram of how the menorah was made according to the Rambam's handwriting. He hand drew this picture of what the menorah is. There were certain, they're called flowers and cups, elements of the way the menorah had to be made. A better picture of it, hopefully we're going to see soon, on another page. 1240, yeah, look at 1240. This is a reconstruction, the one that's in the Old City, made by the Temple Institute. And you see each one of there's sort of like 3 goblets that are part of the branches, and then some kind of like a knob that they sort of on top of them. And then there's like a knob where each of the branches branch out from the central stem. And then, of course, the central stem has a few knobs beneath it as well as above it. And then on top there's this reservoir which had, oil in it, and the wick which was lit. I want to go. There should be one other picture here,
Is this
hopefully.
picture here of the replica?
Yes.
Is it pure gold or somehow it's...
I think it's pure gold, but it's the way they made it is that they made a mold, and then they poured hot gold on the outside of it, so that I think it's hollow, because real solid gold would be millions of dollars, I think. But, so I think it is made of gold, but it's not through and through. I'm not sure 100%. I want to show you one other picture, hopefully.
The original was hammered, no?
Yeah, look on page 1264, please. 1264, in the Beit HaMikdash, there was, the menorah was very tall and very big. So there were stairs, 3 stairs for the Kohen to reach. You could see he had a jug of oil. He had all the stuff he needed there to take out the old candles. It was actually what's the difference between picture 1264 and picture on 1240? What's the difference of the way the menorah looks?
It's V-shaped, like in the 12.
Right. Are
This one is curved.
are the branches curved or are they straight angles, straight lines? See on page 1240 they're curved, and 1264 they're straight lines. Why did they make them straight lines?
That's what Rambam.
Because of the first picture I showed you in the Rambam's diagram. Although some people say, well, the Rambam was just giving a schematic. He wanted to show you where those knobs are and where those, how many goblets type of ornaments are there. And so he drew it with straight lines because his artistic talents weren't so great. Maybe he did it that way. But other people say, no, the Rambam actually meant it. He thought that they were straight angles. And it's just a question of aesthetics, which you think is prettier. In any case, there's two opinions. We don't know exactly what the menorah looked like. There is a support for the candelabra being curved. Does anybody know what that support would be? Where do we find an ancient picture of the menorah of the Beit HaMikdash? Close? No.
No, it's on Rome.
Exactly. The Arch of Titus, it's called. The Victory Arch, which Titus, the Roman general, built to celebrate his victory over his enemies, including Jerusalem. And there's an engraving until today in Rome. You can go see it, a miniature engraving inside the arch, which it depicts the Jewish people carrying the arch, the menorah, and the menorah there is rounded. So there's support for that. One more picture. Take a look on page 1275. 1275, you can see where the menorah was placed inside the Beit HaMikdash. You see this is, there were a few sections of the temple. This is called the Kodesh or the Heichal. And you can see that inside there were three vessels. I'll just draw it on the board for you, you probably have seen this before, but it's like in the Mishkan we studied every year. This is where the Aron HaKodesh was, the Aron HaKodesh with the Sefer Torah. And here we had the menorah, and here we had the table. When on top of the table there were shelving units, which had the Lechem HaPanim, and inside here this was the small, it's just the size of a stender, of a small podium. This was where the incense, the golden altar of the incense. And then outside here was the large altar. It had a ramp coming up to it. So there were two altars. This was made out of copper. This was hollow, actually, in the Mishkan. They could carry it that way easier. But in the temple, it was solid, made out of stone. And this was a big thing. This is the size of this room. You could walk on top of this altar all the way around. Kohanim would walk and light fires, and this was a big, big thing in the Beit HaMikdash. Anyways, inside, this is called the Kodesh. And this is called the Kodesh HaKodashim, right? The Holy of Holies. HaKodashim. Anyways, we see we're looking at the menorah now. Right? If this is west, the menorah is in the south. You get that? And in the north is the showbread. Showbread perhaps represents livelihood, sustenance. And so the sages say, where are you supposed to face when you daven Shemona Esrei? where Jerusalem is, where the temple. Do you know that this is due directly towards the Holy of Holies? Let's say I'm really feeling it. My bank account is in minus, and you're pinched for resources. So Talmud says, tilt a little bit towards the north. Tilt towards the north. It's a way of telling Hashem you need help with your sustenance. And if you're in Machon Meir, your primary goal is to study Torah, to gain God's wisdom, tilt a little bit to the south. Because what's in the south? The menorah. The menorah represents oil, wisdom, Torah. Oil's the Torah, right? The content in the vessels, the light of Shekhinah. Anyways, you can see here on page 1275. If you're looking at page 1275, that's the incense, altar of incense. We're looking from the east to the west, and on the left-hand side you see the menorah. As they placed it here, it looks like the menorah is actually flush with the divide. There was a curtain here. The curtain, what you're looking at, is the curtain here between the Kodesh and Kodesh Kodashim, which had some kind of embroidery of the Kruvim on it. And so which one is closest to the Holy of Holies? Which one of these lights in the menorah? It's not clear, because they're all on the same parallel plane if it was placed this way. And so that's why some people say it was the central one. But in the next picture, take a look at another picture here.
Is that the parochet?
Yeah, that's the parochet, separating the Kodesh from the Kodesh Kodashim. Look on page 1278. You see a picture of that altar. You were surprised you could walk on it. Look how massive it was compared to the people on page 1278. But focusing once more again on another picture of the menorah, take a look on page 1283. Look on page 1283 and 1282. We see pictures of the menorah being lit. And 1283, you see in the background. What do you see in the background there? Right, you see the table with the showbread on it. There's like shelving unit on Bava table. In those shelves was bread. Okay? That's on page 1283. You see that's what we were describing now. In any case, you see there were some stairs there, and the Kohen would light this every night. Now, one of the first things he did, actually before lighting the candles, in the morning he would clear out, one of the Kohanim would come and clear out the old wicks, and then he would fill it with oil for the next night, right? And then what else would he do?
What time of day?
In the morning, he would clear out the old wicks.
And light incense.
Yeah, the incense, but I'm talking about the menorah. He would do something else to the menorah.
Clean it and
Put in new oil, and he would light it. He would light it, but why would he light it? Well, I don't know if you've ever lit a wick in an oil lamp before, but it can be quite tricky to get the wick to light. And so there's something called hatavat hanerot, melashon tov, to making the candles good. How do you make them good? You pre-light them. You light the wick on fire. It could take a few minutes until the oil gets sucked up into the wick and then you blow it out. Because it's not the time to light the menorah until the afternoon, before the evening. And then when the Kohen comes in the evening to light the menorah, it lights in a second. It lights beautifully. So there's a process called hatavat hanerot. Nowadays, how do we make it easy to light the wicks? Many times you'll see wicks which are sold, which are surrounded by wax. Why do they do that? Because the wax lights very easily, and the wax is going to get burnt up, but by the time the wax gets burnt up, the wick will already take light. The fire will take to the wick itself, and the rest of the time you don't need any of the wax. The rest of the time you have the oil being drawn through the wick. But it takes some time, so if you don't have that wax, and the reason I mention is you should know that some people until today like to light their Shabbat candles with oil, and they have little wicks made out of some kind of threads. And who's supposed to light the candles? The Shabbat candles. Who's supposed to light the Shabbat candles? Wait, but who's obligated to light Shabbat candles? Men and women. So we can't both do it. Can we? How can we? How can we both do it? The women have in mind for the men, I know, but the man's not doing anything. I feel bad. I want to light Shabbat candles. I'm not allowed to. What can I do? I could do the pre-lighting. I can do the buying the candles. I can do the setting up of the candles. And if you have wicks, part of getting the candles ready to be lit is pre-lighting them. Hatavat hanerot. And so in many homes, the husband, the man, does the hatavat hanerot. He lights the candles for, 10 seconds, 30 seconds, blow them out. And then when the wife is ready to light Shabbat candles, just puts the match there, and instantaneously, it's not hard, it's very easy for the candles to be lit for the sake of the mitzvah. The pre-lighting is called hatavat. So the Kohen would do that in the Beit HaMikdash too. It's one of the services of the Kohen. When he was preparing the candelabra, the menorah, he would do hatavat hanerot. First he would take out the old wicks, put in the new one, and pre-light them. Okay, in any case, there is a tradition. If you take a look on page 1235 for a second, you can see the big scheme of things, where all this took place. On page 1235, this was the Temple Mount. After King Herod, had built it up to the size that it currently is, as we see in Jerusalem, 500 amot by 500 amot. Actually, Herod made it even a little bit bigger. But there was an outer courtyard, and then an inner courtyard, and then within the inner courtyard there was a section which is called the Ezrat Nashim, which had 4 chambers in each corner. And then where the central building is, in front of it, you see a white line. Yeah, exactly. You see the white line? What's the white line?
15 stairs? Is this a 15 stairs?
No. Looking over here. The smoke. In front of the building, there's smoke. Why is there smoke here? Because that's where the altar is. Right, this altar I was showing to you here, it's outside of the main building. There was a pillar of smoke. This was one of the miracles, they say, that it went straight up to the sky. Can you see the white line here? Right in front of the red building. See it? Hananel, look where I'm pointing. It's hard to see the altar from here. And then inside the building, you had the other vessels. The rest of the vessels. The menorah was inside, and the shulchan, and so forth. You can see it better on page 1234. See that picture? You can see the altar and the pillar of smoke in this picture here. You see here, that's what we're looking at. And then inside, that's where the Aron HaKodesh was, and the menorah was. And on the right-hand side, you see a very interesting washing basin, supported by 12 bulls. Very interesting. Yes?
Now, for example, where did the women stay?
So women and men were allowed. All Jewish people were allowed inside this courtyard, and that's why it's called Ezrat Nashim, because women. This whole courtyard with the 4 chambers in the 4 corners of it, this whole area is called Ezrat Nashim. Now that is confusing to us, because nowadays the Ezrat Nashim is only for women. And that's based on a tradition. The Talmud says that on the holiday of Sukkot, they would have a party every night. What was that party called? We just had Sukkot. Who remembers? Every day of Sukkot. Big parties. Simchat Beit Hasho'eva. The joy of the house of drawing water. Because every day there was a special sacrifice of water. And this was every night of Sukkot, because it's the holiday of joy. They had big parties. And at the big parties, the rabbi said, wait a minute. It's the Beit HaMikdash. You know what could happen at parties? Might lead to mixed dancing. It might be frivolity. And so the rabbis decided, this was a big decision, to change the architecture of the temple is not allowed. The rabbis had some prophets. Earlier, the men of the 120 men of the Great Assembly, there were some prophets. Anyways, they got their guidance, and they took the permission by the authority granted to them, and they built what we would now call today a women's auxiliary, a type of a second floor balcony. And for the parties, the women would go up to the balcony, the men would stay on the ground floor, and they'd have all the dancing. And that's a custom we see in many shuls until today, that the men are the ground floor of the shul, and the women are in a balcony, and they can see, but they don't mix. And this is the source in the temple times. But that was only for the parties. The rest of the year in the temple, the men and the women were gathering in that what's called Ezrat Nashim. It's the reason why it's called Ezrat Nashim, even though it's for men and for women, is because the next section where the stairs, can you see the stairs? In both pictures on 1234 and 1235, you can see there's stairs. Before those stairs, only men could go to that next section, I believe. So that's why this was called Ezrat Nashim, and the next section is called Ezrat Yisrael. Ezrat Yisrael was restricted to men. It's a very short, thin area, because after that is Ezrat Kohanim. Ezrat Kohanim was only for the Kohanim. Only they could go near where the altar is, where you see all the people there. They're all Kohanim in the Beit HaMikdash area. Okay, question. Yes, Yechananel, what did you want to ask?
Which side the women stay and they are mixed together?
Probably they were mixed all year round. For the parties, they built a special balcony all around the perimeter, all around the sides, and the women were all around the sides. Something a little bit like, let's see where else we could find a picture of. Let's see if there's any pictures of that. I don't see any pictures of that. Yeah, the bulls. Very interesting. They were set. We don't pray to the bulls. No, of course not.
Idol worship, right?
Of course, you're not allowed to.
Why we keep this one below the vessel?
It's a good question. It's a good question. It's supporting the basin, and it's a special design. I think the 12 bulls are supposed to represent the 12 tribes of Israel. And a bull represents power and strength. But ultimately, we know nowadays, in hindsight, that it's a dangerous thing to use statues, because maybe people will bow down to the statues. But King Solomon, who innovated this and built the Beit HaMikdash that way, he was not worried about it, and he built this structure to support the beautiful structure to support the basin. I don't see any other pictures here right now that would show us anymore. Anyways, okay, so now what I wanted to show you this. Here, take a look on page 1298. 1298, actually. There might be something which gives you an indication of what we're referring to about Ezrat Nashim. This is the at the bottom. It's a picture of the outer chamber. At the bottom, there's a picture of the outer chamber, and this is a picture of the Kohen Gadol who's reading the Torah. It's part of the service on. It says in the footnote here to the picture. This is a description of Hakhel. Hakhel is a gathering every 7 years. All the people, men, women, and children would come. You can see there's people on balconies on the side. So it could be that during the this was on Sukkot. There's 4 pillars with lamps. You see the lamps?
Yeah.
This was like
Like
the olden day projectors. They say the light would spread throughout all Jerusalem from these amazing reservoirs of oil. You see Kohanim climbing up one of the beams, the posts, to refill it with oil. In any case, this was when there was a big crowd in the Ezrat Nashim. Maybe the women were on this balcony on the sides. You can see the balcony on the sides. The bottom, page 1298. Some gives you an idea of what it was like during the party gathering of Sukkot. Yeah, question? Yeah.
Question, like, during these times when the whole Am Yisrael comes to the temple,
Yeah.
and how
Pretty big, pretty massive. I imagine not everybody could come. There's old people, sick people, people who you were supposed to come 3 times a year, but it could be not everybody came every time. Could be they came once a year. I don't know. Yeah.
Also, like, who's able to come inside? Is it like talking?
So you have to be tahor. You have to be purified. So some people could not come because they were not pure. If it's the wrong time of the month for a woman who has her period, she can't come. And for men, if they bury their friend, so they were in touch with the dead, they're impure. They have to go through a purification process. So it's not always that everybody can come.
What about touching one dead body? How to get to go to meditate or?
So nowadays, nothing. Nowadays, we don't have to do anything. We assume that we are all tameh. We are all tameh nowadays, and therefore we don't have to worry about it. Why? Because we have no temple. The only problem with being tameh is if you're going to go to the temple. Take a look on page 1346. On page 1346 is a picture, and what it's showing is that there were some people walking in the middle, and some people walking on the sides. Those people who were tamei knew that they had to walk on the sides, so that the people who were tahor going towards the Beit HaMikdash could walk without getting impurity from their neighbors. In any case, take a look at page 1382. This is the coin from the times of the Bar Kokhba rebellion, where they have those 4 columns of the Beit HaMikdash being a symbol with a picture of the Aron Kodesh and the Kruvim inside. This is just, 60 years after the destruction of the temple. This was their rallying cry. And then maybe on the right-hand side, you have pictures of the lulav and the etrog and the hadassim in some kind of a vessel, some kind of a goblet, something like that. In any case, there's a lot of nice pictures here, but what I wanted to tell you about is this idea that the sages said the westernmost candle, Haner HaMa'aravi, of the menorah, there was a miracle and it stayed lit. It must be 24 hours, and then they had to, do Hatavat Nerot in the afternoon at least, and relight it. Maybe they just added oil, I don't know. But it extended for a long time, and this was a sign of the Shekhinah. And then, in the second temple, maybe that didn't happen. Until when did that not happen? until Chanukah. The miracle of Hanukkah that we celebrate is that the one cruse of oil that was left with the stamp of the Kohen Gadol, it lit for 8 days. That reminds us of something. What does it remind us of? It reminds us of the Shekhinah, the symbol of the divine presence being with the Jewish people. And that's perhaps the tremendous significance of the Hanukkah miracle. It wasn't just, oh, we didn't have enough oil. We needed to have pure oil. We didn't have it. It's a symbol of Hashem returning to the purified temple. It's a symbol of the Shekhinah. So the menorah and the menorah lasting a long time is a symbol of the Shekhinah. And I'll tell you something beautiful I heard at the concert on Thursday. Shmuel, sorry, the seats were a little bit difficult. We were in the front row, and people started to dance in front of us. And I don't know, Shmuel, you just were not feeling well, so you had to leave. But one of the things, the rabbi who spoke in Hebrew, he said a beautiful idea. He says, we talked before about the war, right? We're in a time of war, and the whole idea of, he was talking about Chassidut. We mentioned on Thursday that this was a day that the Rabbi was in jail and he got out of jail. Why did he have to be in jail in the first place? Why did he have to go through this persecution? Sometimes we ask ourselves, why do the Jewish people have to have such dark times? We have to be under the thumb of a religious persecution of Antiochus. And we say, well, from the darkness, you can see the light. It's only when the dark skies, when night comes, you see stars. Can't see the stars in the daytime. Sometimes we need the darkness to facilitate a greater light. And what happened in Hanukkah? We purified the temple, right? After it was defiled. Why did it have to be defiled in the first place? Think about it this way, Rabbi Yoshua Shapiro said. He said, because of that Hanukkah story of the Greeks defiling the temple, and then we purify it, what do we do until today to commemorate that light of the holy temple? We light Hanukkah candles. Where do we light them? We light them now outside the temple. In every Jewish home around the world for thousands of years, we have a little bit of a reminder of the light of the Shekhinah, of the holy temple. So out of the darkness of the persecution of the Syrian Greeks and the rebellion of the Hasmoneans who purified the temple, paradoxically, we now have the light of the temple in every Jewish home for thousands of years, which otherwise we would not have. Otherwise, if we didn't have this process of persecution and redemption, of suffering and of salvation, we wouldn't have had the Hanukkah commemoration that we have now. The light of the Beit HaMikdash has spread, metaphorically, all around the world to each and every Jewish home. We have a little piece of the Beit HaMikdash in our homes by lighting the Hanukkah candles, which is a symbol of the miracle of a lamp lasting longer than expected. That's a symbol of the Shekhinah, that the God dwells with the Jewish people, even in all the times of after the temple was destroyed, ultimately 200 years later. Even after that, God remains with us. We continue to light the Hanukkah candles. Now, I'll add one more thing. Usually, the Talmud has this idea. So when God reveals himself to the Jewish people, what was the biggest revelation ever in the history of the Jewish people? Mount Sinai. There's a tradition that said when God came down, it says in the Torah, God came down onto Mount Sinai. The Talmud says it came up to the level of down to the earth, but it hovered above the earth, 10 tefachim above the earth. The Shekhinah, have you ever seen a picture of a drawing like this? Michelangelo? It's in the Sistine Chapel, unfortunately. But what does it represent? Connection between God's hand and man's hand, right? Actually, the way it looks to the naked eye today, it looks like this. There's a little bit of a gap between the figures because God is God, and man is man. You can't really have contact. They're like opposites. They analyzed the painting. Apparently, previous draft versions actually had them touching. It's a fascinating question. Did they touch it or not touch? Our sages spoke about this interface between the heavens above and us below, the worlds below. They said, where is that interface? 10 tfachim high, above ground. So usually we say the Shekhinah does not go down below 10 tefachim. When is the exception? Paradoxically, even at Har Sinai, God never came down really to enter our world because He's infinite and He's beyond our world. You know what was revealed at Hanukkah? We light the Chanukiah where? Ideally, below 10 tefachim. Right? It's supposed to be between 3 and 10. That's what we started with today. This symbolizes that Hashem changed His mind in order to give us support, to give us godliness, even within our lowly world. The Shekhinah went down below 10 tefachim. And that's what gives us strength. In the long years of exile, for thousands of years, we don't have the Beit HaMikdash. We don't have the divine presence. We do have the divine presence. And even in greater measure than we did before. In times of old, Shekhinah was there only in the Beit HaMikdash, and now it's everywhere. You light the Hanukkah candles. In the times of old, it was only up until God came down till the interface of 10 tefachim. Nowadays, Hashem, if we light the Hanukkah candles, we manage to bring the Shekhinah even lower, even closer to us, below the 10 tefachim. And this is a paradox of from the darkness comes a great light. An even greater light than you would have if you didn't have the darkness in the first place. Somehow God created the world that we have to have this persecution, these difficulties, but then we come out stronger from it. It's like, if you just lie there on your bed all day long, your muscles atrophy. You have some pressure, you do some exercise. Sometimes you need to work your muscles for them to get stronger. So the challenges that we face enable us to sort of force God's hand to come into our lives to help us face those challenges, even though it's maybe unprecedented in history that God is so supportive of us that we're able to expose the godliness even in the most mundane things of our life underneath 10 tefachim. It's one of the messages of Chanukah. The lights of Chanukah represent the Shekhinah, just like the light that stayed lit in the menorah in the Beit HaMikdash represents the Shekhinah. This was evidence that the Shekhinah never leaves Israel. Give me one other candle that you see almost every day, which is a commemoration of this light of the menorah in the Beit HaMikdash. Not only on Chanukah. If you look in the Beit HaMikdash, every synagogue in the world, there's a tradition. Besides the Aron Kodesh and the Bima, there's one other feature. What's that called? Ner Tamid. The continual lamp. It's commemorating the Ner Tamid of the menorah in the Beit HaMikdash. The tradition tells us that one of those 7 lit continually. The Torah tells us it's a mitzvah for you to light the candles, a candelabra in the Beit HaMikdash, tamid. But the simple understanding is tamid means every day. Like there was a korban tamid. We brought every day, right? One sheep in the morning, one sheep in the afternoon. It's called tamid because it's regular. So too, the menorah was lit every day. This is one of the worship service in the temple. We had the light every evening for the night, all night long. They put in enough oil for it to last all night long, even in the longest, darkest nights of the winter. They put in enough oil so it lasts all night. But not on the day. I probably couldn't put in enough oil in there for it to last the entire. And what do you need it lit in the day, anyways? It was a miracle that it lit. So that, but it was still kosher because tamid meant regularly, every single day. You bring a korban, an animal sacrifice, and every single day you light them with a candelabra. But it doesn't mean constantly, always. There is this tradition that one of the 7 lights stayed on constantly. And it's called the Ner Tamid. And that's why they have in some synagogues, they have the Ner Tamid on a different fuse. It's not on the one, you turn off the lights in the Beit Knesset, the Ner Tamid stays on. Even nowadays, it's just a commemoration, so we use electricity. But, I don't think anybody goes to the great length of putting a battery operator in. If there's a power outage, so that'll go out too. It's okay. It's a commemoration. But the fact that there is a candle that's always lit in the Beit Knesset is to commemorate this one candle of the menorah, and we also commemorate it on Hanukkah. On Hanukkah, when we light the candles, that little bit of oil which lasted longer than it should, we commemorate it by 1 day, 2 days, 3 days. We increment. Wow, the candles still remained lit for 8 days in a row. The candles remained lit because they didn't have enough oil for each day, or enough pure oil. Come back to that another time. This is a commemoration of the Shekhinah. It was a miracle, divine presence. It was helping the Hasmoneans. He was helping them purify the temple. This divine assistance is essentially a big part of what we're celebrating. That the Shekhinah remained with us. He showed us His miracles. God is with the Jewish people. And it's sort of like a little bit of a Ner Tamid idea that the divine presence is always with us. That the candle lasting longer is a sign of the divine presence. Yeah.
Question. During when they found the oil, the temple was defiled, right?
Right.
How can the oil still be pure? Because the temple is defiled.
It's a good question. Right? Good question. So the simple understanding is that it says that each jug of oil that they had ready, it had the requisite amount of oil for 1 day. So they found one of these jugs. It was still sealed. Each one they sealed with the seal of the Kohen Gadol. Apparently they, according to the laws of purity and impurity, it's like nowadays, some of you guys know that somebody who's not Jewish should not handle wine which has not been cooked, been pasteurized. So the handling of a non-Jew, maybe he'll be worshiping his idol, right? But if it's sealed, if the bottle's sealed, we have non-Jewish truck drivers and workers in factories. Once the bottle's been sealed by a Jew, then until that seal is broken, they can transport it. There's no problem. So that's why the jug of oil that was sealed by the seal of the Kohen Gadol, it remained pure. All the other ones, it must have been opened up or something like that. So all the other ones were impure. And then it's a little more complicated because the truth is, according to the rules of purity and impurity.
Because of the law of Tumah, and when a person died, then the whole building is...
Right, exactly. So really, in the context, the strict letter of the law says you're allowed, if you have no choice, a community is allowed to do the temple service even if everything is impure. Even if the oil was impure, they could have done the sacrifices. One answer is that they wanted it to do the best way possible. That's why till today we do Mahadrin Mina Mahadrin. when we light the candles. We look for the best way possible. But it would have been kosher even if it was impure. And you're right, the rest of the temple probably was impure. Maybe the menorah itself was impure. But for some reason, they were very excited to be able to have the pure oil. But that's already detailed laws of purity and impurity. But primarily, it's a metaphor for the Shekhinah coming back to the Jewish people. We have to stop here, and tomorrow we'll get into the timing, B'ezrat Hashem, of the Hanukkah candles, when we light the Hanukkah